If you're purchasing a home and looking at the title report, you may likely discover an easement on your property. So the question is, what is an easement? And what are the different types of easements? And just how does it affect the property you're considering? Well, today's video will answer those questions. I'm Harold Powell, a local real estate agent in Ventura, California. And if you're new to the channel and are interested in all things real estate for Ventura and the surrounding areas, then I suggest hitting the subscribe, like, and bell icon to be notified of future content. So now, if you are considering buying and selling, you may also want to watch my video on what not to fix when selling a home so that you can maximize your rate of return. All right, so let's start with what's an easement and just how does it work? Well, an easement is really a legal term for a type of property right that allows another person, business, or entity to access a specific part of the property. In other words, that person or entity has the right to use the real property of another without possessing it. And there are three essential qualities of an easement. Number one, an interest in land, and usually created by grant or agreement, and generally must be transferred and used subject to the rules of real property. And number two, it's an interest in the land of another. Number three, it's limited and non-possessory interest in land. So the owner of an easement has the legal right to maintain the easement and a legal right to access across the easement. So let's look at two common types of easements and just how it affects your property rights. Number one, an appurtenant easement. An appurtenant easement is the right in another's land which is created to benefit the easement holder in his use of a particular land owned by him. There's always two parties involved in this type of easement. There's the dominant estate, which refers to the property that uses an easement over another property, and the servient easement, which is used by the land burdened by the easement. So, for instance, a shared driveway access that allows another owner who doesn't own the land use the driveway to access the public street. So the servient estate has ownership of the land, while the dominant estate has access to the portion of the land. So with this type of easement, there are three essentials. A, the easement is attached to the land of the owner of the easement. B, it passes with transfers of land as an appurtenance, with or by voluntary or conveyance, or by transfer by operation of the law. So this means that when a property is sold, the easement is transferred to the new owner. And C, it cannot exist separate and apart. For it to exist, there must be at least two parcels of land in separate ownership, which is the dominant estate and the servient estate. Number two is an easement in gross. Now, an example of this would be a public utility easement. So when you purchase a home, you'll often find pre-existing utility easements on the property. A utility easement gives the utility company the right to access and maintain essential utilities and equipment on the property. So here the easement is not created for the benefit of any land owned by the easement holder. It is not attached to any particular land, and there is only the servient estate or tenement, the land burdened by the easement. One thing to be aware of is that there are occasions when the utility easements will put limits on what a property owner can do with their property. So for instance, an owner may not be allowed to plant trees, install equipment, or structures that would interfere with access to power lines. The title company can provide you a map highlighting the area or portion of the property that has any building restrictions. So how will an easement affect my ownership of a property? Well, an easement won't affect your ownership of a property. However, it grants other parties the right to use designated parts of your property and may limit what you can do on your land. So for example, it may restrict where you can build a shed, install a pool, or even plant trees, because those actions may block or interfere with an easement holder's use. So the best way to know if a property has an easement is to look at the title report, and the title company will research any recorded easements on the property. Now, as far as maintaining the easement, always check if there's an agreement, and if not, then the owner of an easement is generally responsible for its maintenance. So in other words, if you have an easement that allows you to use a portion of another person's or company's land, then it's your responsibility to maintain the easement. It's not the responsibility of the Servient estate, but the dominant estate. So this includes keeping the easement safe, clear, and free of obstructions that could impede access, as well as keeping it safe for condition to prevent injury to other people. Now, if the easement is owned by more than one person, or it is attached to several parcels of land under different ownership, each owner must share in the cost of maintaining the easement pursuant to their agreement. And if there is no agreement in place, well, then each owner is responsible for their proportionate share of the cost based on their use. So, bottom line is that easements are kind of a routine feature of all real estate transactions and very common when buying a home. Many easements can benefit the homeowner and the easement holder, but some easements can create issues and restrict certain property rights. So it's wise to research your prospective property to learn which easements are on the property. And if you're unsure about the effect of an easement, I suggest speaking with a real estate attorney. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Thanks.